Hey everybody, how's it going?
Hi guys!
Rhoda here. Rachel's
And
with me.
Rachel.
How's it going, guys? I wanted to do like a different video today, so
What did you have in mind, Kuroda?
we were racking our brains as to what we could do that would be different, and we decided that we were gonna do a top 10 list of our favorite video game soundtracks.
Yep.
And before we get started, I want to acknowledge something real quick. This very likely could be the last time I record in the spot. Which is, I feel like this spot it has become iconic because I record so
All
many
your
of my
vlogs.
vlogs here and stuff.
It's kind of a tragedy.
So yeah, it is kind of a tragedy. I never really got to show off the room, and I probably won't be able to.
Maybe at the end, or at some point, you could just at least show your Super Smash Bros. Ball.
Ready, guys?
This is gonna be taken down in a few days.
That is gonna all be taken down in a few days, which is crazy.
It's the Smash Brawl roster
Yes.
in order.
Yeah, it's pretty much Smash 4.
Minus like 2 characters.
Minus 2 characters. I don't have Diddy and Kirby, so if you want to send in a box, Diddy, Kong, and Kirby, by all means do so.
I'm sure people are just chomping at the bit to do that.
They are. But anyway, guys, so to the point of this video, this is a video that we kind of thought about doing in the past, but I thought it would be really fun to just kind of do as us discussing about it, because we listen to a ton of music together, and like, honestly, half the time it is video game music that we're listening to.
We love video games, we love music. It
Video
makes
game
sense.
music is natural, right?
Makes
So,
sense.
what we've both done is we've both written a top 10 list of our favorite video game soundtracks.
We have indeed. We're shuffling
And
noises.
so we're each going to share those, and then we're going to do a quick collective list, and that'll be that. And we also have some shout-outs to other games that aren't on the list.
Yep.
But without further ado, would you like to go first, or do you want me to go
Are we
first?
starting with number 10 and doing it as a countdown?
I think maybe I'll share my list, or you share your list first, then the other person shares their list, and then we'll do a
Okay.
collective one.
Number 10!
So, Rachel's list first. Go ahead.
Number 10, and this may seem random to some people, but I really love this game. Yoshi's Island DS, and it's not just about loving the game. It's that
It's
the
because
soundtrack
Yoshi's.
was great.
It's 'cause
Yeah,
Yoshi's.
prepare for my list to be Yoshi heavy, obviously, but I really love the music in this game, and it's like a lot of Yoshi games in which, like, in that they remix the same tune in a lot of different ways, and I just really liked it. So, Yoshi's Story, number 9.
Speaking of that,
On that
whole
topic,
thing,
yeah, on the topic of remixing things. Obviously, there's a lot of nostalgia for this and a lot of the other soundtracks on my list too, so that's part of it. But
Yoshi's Story. What's cool about that soundtrack is,
it's got the Yoshi rap.
yes, the best. Anyway, what's cool about that is it's the first game that does what you said Yoshi's Island DS did, and it had this like basically the same melody in like
Yeah.
a bunch of different styles.
I like
It's
that.
really
It's cool. All right, and we actually revisit that soundtrack fairly often.
Yes, we do,
We
yeah.
listen to it a lot.
Yep.
Number
Love
8.
is in the air.
Number 8. This is gonna seem random. Super Mario Bros. 2. Now, I didn't even really play that much of Super Mario Bros. 2. It's my least favorite of the original 3 for the NES, but the soundtrack is great, and like it's the strongest of the 3 in my opinion.
Mhm.
And what I love about it is it has like all this old, early 20th century style piano. You know what I mean? Like it reminds me of ragtime music, which I love.
So
on the piano.
she actually loves Doki Doki Panic then, which is the game that became. Now here's a question
All
for
right
you though.
now.
Do you like the original NES versions of the tunes, or do you like the Mario All-Stars and Mario Advance versions of the
I don't know.
tunes
I'd have to
better?
hear them back to back. I grew up with the Mario All Stars stuff, so
Oh, true.
that's
there
what
you
I'm
go.
thinking of.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, anywho, number 7, Super Metroid. Now, I've never played Super Metroid. However, it's one of my most listened to soundtracks. I mean, in part because of Rob, but Rob played it for me, and I'm like, this is just amazing music, and I'd never seen the game or anything, so I just love it. By the way, check out my channel for a cover of Super Metroid 2.
It'll be linked below, and it's amazing. Watch it.
40 of the, 70 views are Rob.
I did request it though, so
Number 6, The Wind Waker.
good choice.
There's gonna be a lot of Zelda on my list too. Prepare for that. So the Wind Waker, I mean, it's just epic, and there's a couple really significant standout pieces like Outset Island and Dragon Roost Island and stuff. It's just so lighthearted,
and
you
chill.
know? Yeah, it just makes me happy. Number 5, Yoshi's Island. I don't know what to say about this except it's awesome, and once again, it's very nostalgic. A lot of this list is Super Nintendo, unsurprisingly.
And Yoshis.
And Yoshi. Number 4, Super Mario World. I feel like lists always go like this. Yoshi's Island is always just like one step below Super Mario World, and in music I feel like that's no exception. The Super Mario World soundtrack is just like my childhood in a nutshell, and also there's just a lot of great tunes. Like the athletic theme, the ending theme, just gold.
The castle theme, don't forget the castle theme.
Yeah, today actually we listened to somebody doing a piano cover of the entire Super Mario World soundtrack, and it was amazing.
I was about to say that, it's really great, look that up.
I was so impressed. Okay, number 3, Ocarina of Time. The Legend of Zelda. I just love it. Once again, of course, I'm biased by the game, but I feel like that's the case with this whole list.
A lot of classic Zelda tunes from Ocarina of Time.
Yes, so many classics, and in particular, I want to give a shout out to all the Ocarina tunes.
Mm-hmm.
Not like the Lost World, blah blah blah, or the Lost Level. What is the name?
Lost
of
Woods.
Lost Woods, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Lost World.
And the Lost Levels.
Lost World, Jurassic Park.
And the Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels.
Anyway, not like those ones or Saria's song, but I'm thinking more like the Prelude of Light, you know,
Some
the
deep
Nocturne
cuts,
of Shadow. Like, I love all the Temple Warp songs. They were great.
They were.
It touched my heart of hearts when I was a kid. Number 2, and you're gonna be surprised this isn't in first place. Ocarina of Time again. The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask.
Nobody's surprised at all.
Yeah, I think people are just surprised that it's not in the number 1 spot.
You know what surprises me about you picking that actually so high is that I feel like the Majora's Mask soundtrack is really good, but there's a lot of ambient pieces in Majora's Mask, and I just felt like for your overall musical taste, you're not an ambient music kind of person. Anyway, go on.
And okay, no, it's just great. I mean, there's a lot of pieces that are the same as Ocarina of Time, but there's a lot of unique ones. Like Clock Town is amazing. I love the Termina Field thing and the way they remixed that 4 times, like for each area. I love the Song of Healing. I love the Oath to Order.
Song of Healing, also known as your ringtone on your phone.
Yeah, that's been the ringtone on my phone since like 2013 or 2012. I don't know, something like that. And maybe even before then. All right, so number 1, drum roll. Donkey Kong Country 2!
Nice, nice.
Man, that soundtrack is just unstoppable, you know? The whole thing from beginning to end is pure gold. And my favorite tracks on the thing, the soundtrack, are In a Snowbound Land, which is just beautiful. And number 2, go on.
I was gonna say probably Sticker Brush Symphony, right?
Yeah. The other one is Sticker Brush Symphony, which is also what I would probably say is my favorite video game soundtrack, or track, not soundtrack, video game track of all time, if anyone were to ask me. I think if I had to pick one that I love above all others, it would be that.
That's pretty, it's such a lot of people would assume that's such a random track, but I feel like that is...
It's so beautiful.
A lot of people really love that tune.
Oh, just pure gold.
It's so good.
It's genius. So anyway, honorable mentions. That didn't make it onto the list, but I still love. Well, I didn't write this down, but I want to add Donkey Kong Country 1, because it also has a great soundtrack, but not quite as good as Donkey Kong Country 2. Okay, Luigi's Mansion. Got some classic tunes.
Bum 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 bum.
Anyway, it's a good one. Super Mario Sunshine. I love the Delfino Plaza tune, you know.
That's also another kind of cheery one, like Wind Waker.
I like bright, cheery games in general. Okay, and then this is not a soundtrack, but I feel like a shout out needs to happen to the original theme from Tetris.
That's pretty great.
It's a classic.
It's so iconic.
Isn't it?
Great.
It's just so good. It's like one of the all-time classic video game tunes. So that would probably be up there if people were to ask me my favorite video game music.
Well done. I like pretty much everything that you picked on your list.
Maybe wait, before you get into that, maybe one day we should do like a top video game tracks thing, not soundtracks, just like your favorite tunes of all.
I'd be down for that.
Because I have some different, like, I love a lot of these soundtracks, but there's like a handful that are like these songs that I love more than anything else.
That's a good point. And there's tracks on some of my honorable mentions and even other ones that I haven't mentioned that I love so much that aren't even close to my favorite soundtracks. So I agree.
Yep.
You know.
Anywho,
that was a great list. I will give mine now. And hold on to your list there because we are going to do our collective list, which should be interesting.
It's here, yeah.
Now there's a slight bit of crossover on our list, but
we're both Super Nintendo fans.
I also think surprisingly it differs quite a bit. There's maybe a handful, like a little tiny bit of crossover, but not as much as I thought there would be, to be honest. So, I'm going to start out. Number 10, Mother 3. Now, the Mother 3 soundtrack, of course, I think the reason I like it so much is there's literally 250 different tracks, and there are all kinds of different styles of music. There's a lot of stuff that's just kind of like sounds and sort of filler stuff, but there is some amazing tracks on there, particularly the Mother 3 love theme. You know, I like the Porky's theme or the Pigmasks theme. I love the Mr. Batty theme, which is essentially a like kind of a remake of the Batman theme from the 60s. And I also really love the like the Tazmily Village theme, and there's quite a few of other. I could name a ton of them. But the Mother 3 soundtrack is just really fantastic, and if you want to listen to it, there's a crisp audio version on YouTube, which is better because the Game Boy Advance has this kind of white. There's this kind of like noise quality of it. I think it's just because they were trying to fit the sound chip or have it play out of these little tiny speakers that it kind of sounds fuzzy a little bit. But there's like a crisp audio version that's really good on YouTube, so check it out. But Mother 3 for sure. Number 9, Ocarina of Time, one that you mentioned.
Yep, so yours is much lower down the list.
Yeah, it's lower down the list, but this is one of my favorite Zelda soundtracks. There's just so many iconic tunes from this soundtrack, and there's also tunes that were done in previous Zelda games, like Link to the Past and the original Zelda, and I think they're just done to perfection on the Ocarina of Time soundtrack. By
the way, I just want to interrupt and say I forgot to put A Link to the Past as an honorable mention in mine, but I would like to, because there's some awesome tunes on that.
This spot, I was conflicted on whether or not I was going to pick A Link to the Past or Ocarina of Time, and I just went with Ocarina of Time, because like I said, I think there's a few tunes from A Link to the Past that they just did better on Ocarina of Time.
Well, there's some great tunes from A Link to the Past that are missing. Like, I love the Sanctuary theme. Oh, I'm sorry, I hit the
It's okay, yep.
And I love the tune that's like, do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do-do,
yep.
You know?
Yep, there's a whole bunch of things from A Link to the Past soundtrack. But the Ocarina of Time soundtrack is very iconic, and I really love it. Number 8 is another N64 game, Super Mario 64. This soundtrack is not only just pure nostalgia for me because Super Mario 64 was a huge game in my childhood, but there's some amazing unique tracks to this. Like, I love Bob-omb Battlefield. I love the Dire Dire Docks theme. That's one of the best underwater themes of any video game soundtrack I think ever. I love I think probably of any Mario game, the Bowser themes are amazing in this. Like, particularly, I think it's called Koopa's Road, which is the theme that plays on each of the 3 different Bowser stages. When you fight him, like the first 2 times you fight him, it's like, and then of course there's that epic organ piece when you fight him. You know what I'm talking about? Like the final boss Bowser theme. It's this epic organ piece that's just awesome.
I don't remember. I never played the game. So.
And of course, there's also there's the castle theme. There's the slide theme. It's just a very, very iconic soundtrack, and I just really love it. One of my absolute favorite Mario soundtracks. Number 7, and this is fitting that it's 7, is the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack. I could have probably picked. This could have been between 3 or 4 different Final Fantasy soundtracks, and I had to put a Final Fantasy soundtrack on here. But I went with 7 just because I think overall, as a soundtrack, it has the best music of the Final Fantasy games. Now, there's some really, really great tracks from 6, and I also still have a huge place in my heart for Final Fantasy IV, which both would also probably be honorable mentions as well. But Final Fantasy VII has such a... you get everything from the really emotional Aerith's theme, and you get a lot of like really melancholy and industrial tracks, like... I think it's called Anxious Heart, and a couple of other ones. And then, of course, there's the iconic Sephiroth theme, and I love the Cosmo Canyon theme, and I could just go on and on and on. I love the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack, and there's just so much variety in that soundtrack. And there's also the theme of Final Fantasy VII. I didn't forget you, Dave. I know that's your favorite.
Right. I just want to jump in and say, as a non-fan of the series, I also really love the soundtrack.
Yeah,
like, the music just stands on its own.
All the Final Fantasy soundtracks are like that. Final Fantasy X is another one that's really great, but 7 to me is the best. I really love it. I love the dark kind of theme and sound in a lot of those tracks too. So that's there. A big one for me. Number 6, and this might surprise people that this isn't higher knowing me, is Super Mario RPG: Legend of the Seven Stars.
What? Not number 1?
Yeah, it's surprisingly not number 1, but I used to play bass. I always love rhythm. There's some great bass on that soundtrack, but of course it has iconic tunes like Beware the Forest Mushrooms, which is one of my favorites. There's Marjorie Marguerite, which is that
the harpsichord
classical
one, yeah.
harpsichord piece.
I gotta learn that one.
I love the Weapons Factory. I love all the battle themes. The Super Mario RPG soundtrack is absolutely amazing, and I would have it higher if it weren't for the few other
pure gold that is higher.
the 5 that are above it are pure gold and deserve it, but Super Mario RPG is one of those, to me, iconic soundtracks. It's very nostalgic for me. Yoko Shimomura, the woman that composed the soundtrack, has even said this was a big turning point in her career as a musician, because she did a lot of she was known for like Street Fighter 2 and that kind of thing, and she wanted to do more classical style music. And this led to her doing Kingdom Hearts and the Mario and Luigi series.
Mm-hmm.
So she became a very, very iconic composer, and she says that this is really the soundtrack that was the turning point for her. And it's so good. Even if you're not a fan of the game, you can enjoy the soundtrack. Number 5 is another crossover between us two, and that is Wind Waker.
So great.
And to me, this is the best Zelda soundtrack. It's not my favorite Zelda game. I'd say it's probably in the top 3 or 4. And I'm not even just saying this because we're playing the game on the channel right now. I just love the Wind Waker soundtrack. It's just phenomenal. How many times have you and I just put it on and we just let the entire thing play? And it's a long soundtrack, too.
It's great.
But tracks like Dragon Roost Island, Onset Island, I even like, a lot of people complain about having to hear the sailing theme because the sailing is such a huge part of the game, but I love it. It's so calming and nice.
Tune, yeah.
It's just a really great soundtrack, and I absolutely love it. I love all the pieces of, all the
like the
Wind Waker tunes. Yeah, they're my favorite. And it was probably my favorite. I saw Zelda Symphony of the Goddesses on I went and saw the concert of them playing, and probably my favorite part of the entire concert was the conductor pulled out an actual Wind Waker and was conducting the orchestra with it, and the Wind Waker suite was just my favorite. It sounded amazing with a live orchestra, so I love that. Really love that soundtrack. Number 4 is another crossover. Actually, the next, if you count Wind Waker, the next 1, 2, 3, actually 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 4. These 4 are crossover soundtracks. Number 4 is Super Mario World. In my mind, the best Mario soundtrack ever. So many classic tunes. You already said a bunch about it. I particularly like the castle theme. I also like the overworld theme.
It's all great.
It's all just fantastic.
I love the way with that soundtrack, as soon as you have Yoshi, it becomes like the same soundtrack, but like with an awesome beat.
Yeah, like a little percussion. It's really great.
So
yeah.
good.
And I could just go on and on about the different tracks. Everything from the haunting melody of the ghost houses, and the Forest of Illusion theme. I could go on and on. I absolutely love that soundtrack. So number 2 and number 3, I had a really hard time picking between them, and I had to really think, like, which one do I like just a little bit more? So these next 2 were really difficult, but for number 3, I put Donkey Kong Country 2, which is your favorite. I don't know what else to say about it. David Wise, this is his masterwork as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. Like you mentioned, Sticker Brush Symphony. I personally really like the Mining Melancholy one. I love the water theme. That's probably one of the best themes. Lockjaw's Locker, it's called, or Lockjaw's whatever, Saga of Lockjaw. I don't know. I love that one. Even just the iconic I love the whole sea shanty kind of theme with some of the tracks, and it's just really well done. It's a phenomenal soundtrack. Number 2 for me is Super Metroid. I had to put this on. There's this quality about this soundtrack that I can't put a finger on. So that good. Is just I listen to this soundtrack regularly and I never get sick of it. It's probably the most atmospheric soundtrack I've ever listened to. It's got this like kind of classic sci-fi vibe to it. At times it's just eerie and creepy and triumphant, and James did a really, really wonderful job in our Metroid video, like our basically Metroid, brief history of Metroid documentary, describing the soundtrack, you know, jazzy bass lines, you know, triumphant horns, all these things, like just creepy ambient sounds, you know, even like something when you, like, I remember the first time I heard the music when you fight Kraid for the first time, that crazy battle theme, it makes, really gets the blood pumping, you're like, holy crap, I'm fighting this big boss, you know, it's just, it really captures atmosphere like no other soundtrack, and I think it just barely edges out Donkey Kong Country 2 for me. But even so, it doesn't compare to number 1, which for me is the Chrono Trigger soundtrack. And, you guys might not be surprised to hear that, but I think the Chrono Trigger soundtrack is one of the best pieces of music I've ever heard, especially something like Time Circuits, or I love the Tyranno Lair, the Secret of the Forest, or just the Chrono Trigger theme. Mitsuda, this is one of his very first, correct me if I'm wrong, if not his first soundtracks that he ever attempted, and he just knocks it out of the park, to the point where he got sick, actually, when he was making it, and Nobuo Uematsu had to come in and finish the soundtrack for him. I could go on and on. At the Bottom of the Night, Robo's theme, Frog's theme, Magus's Castle theme, how could I forget that? I love that. There's just so many iconic tracks from that soundtrack that I had to put it as number 1. I just absolutely love that soundtrack.
Now, I feel like that soundtrack does have some really beautiful tunes, but I don't know. I don't think it's as good as you think it is.
I really love it. It's just one of my favorites, and forever. Chrono Trigger.
Forever in your heart.
But my honorable mentions, and I'm going to do this very quickly. I got quite a few of them. I put Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles. It was really hard to not include a Sonic game on here, but I love Sonic music, especially the old stuff. I'd throw Sonic Mania in there too. Just really fun, upbeat music. Just nostalgic for me too, because I loved the Sonic games when I was a kid. Earthbound, I thought about putting it alongside Mother 3, but Earthbound is, again, so many iconic tunes in that, but there's enough filler in there where I didn't think it was as complete as some of these other ones, where I just love the entire soundtrack. Although there's admittedly a lot of filler in Mother 3, but at one time I would have said Earthbound would have totally been right up there, and it still has a lot of great music, but not just shy. It would honestly probably be like number 11 for me. A Link to the Past, as we talked about. Anything Castlevania, I love Castlevania. That just needs to be put out there, especially from the first 4 games in Symphony of the Night. No worries, I'm boring, I understand. Yoshi's Island, as you mentioned, the only reason it didn't make it on there is because it's kind of a short soundtrack, and I don't think there's as much variety as some of these other ones, but I love a lot of the tunes on it. Paper Mario, I think, at the very least, the first Paper Mario deserves it. If not, honestly, all the Paper Mario games, they're pretty great.
And yeah, I kind of have the same feeling about Chrono Trigger, where like I really love certain tracks, but I also feel like I don't think it's as good as you think it is. But different opinions.
What, Paper Mario?
Yeah, like I love the Paper Mario games, but I feel like their soundtracks are not their strong suits.
Particularly the first Paper Mario game, I really like the soundtrack. Pokemon, there's so many iconic Pokemon game soundtracks. I couldn't pick one. I just want to say I just love the music from Pokemon. If I honestly had to pick one, I really loved Let's Go Eevee soundtrack. It was so I cried. I cried when I first played that game from that soundtrack. And last but not least, I'm gonna just throw in there Splatoon, and it was really hard to not put Splatoon. It's particularly the first one. The second one has some stuff that I'm not a huge fan of, but the first Splatoon soundtrack is unbelievable. I love it.
It is great.
Really hard to not put that on the top 10 as well.
Very unique soundtrack.
So that being said, I'm sorry if I took a minute. Let's make our top 10 list.
I think the top is probably going to have to be Donkey Kong Country, don't you?
Based on both of our lists.
I mean, just because you put it as number 3 and I put it as number 1.
Okay, so how about we do?
We probably should have figured this out.
We'll put Donkey Kong Country 2 as number 1. I'm okay with that.
Just only because I feel like technically it got the technically it was high, like the highest on both of our lists.
Yes, that's yeah, you're right. I'm thinking number 2 I think 2, 3, and 4 need to be in some order: Super Metroid, Super Mario World, and Wind Waker. I don't know how you want to do that.
Yeah, well, it depends. Like, why don't we see which has the lowest number? So I gave Super Mario World 4.
I gave it a 4 as well.
So its total is 8, and with Wind Waker I gave it a 6, and you gave it a 5. So Wind Waker's going to be lower. And then with Super Metroid you gave it 2, and I gave it 7, so it's 9. So it would be Super Mario World, Wind Waker, Super Metroid.
Yeah, I guess I'm okay with that. I think I wouldn't have minded Super Metroid a little higher, but we can do that. I think Super Mario World definitely deserves second.
The only reason I did it that way is because, like I said,
Yeah.
technically, those are just the numbers, you know?
True. Yeah, you're right. Would you rather have Wind Waker over Super Metroid? I guess, well, obviously you put it on there. So, alright, so we'll go Wind Waker. Then we're gonna go Super Metroid.
I'm sorry I put Super Metroid so low.
It's okay. It's fine.
I love that soundtrack. I feel like
your opinion, so go ahead.
I love it. It's just like I feel like it's probably in part just because I haven't even played the game. You know what I mean?
Do we have any other crossovers?
Do we?
Ocarina of Time. Yeah, I put mine at 9, and you put yours at what?
3.
So I think Ocarina of Time probably is gonna get the number 5 spot. Okay.
Shouldn't that maybe that's just our collective list?
Well, if we're gonna do another top 10, I think we should now take from I think we should take Yoshi's Island and Chrono Trigger and put them in there because they're both our number 1. Or no, wait, what's your number 1?
My number 1 is Donkey Kong.
Okay. What's your number 2?
Majora's Mask.
Majora's Mask. So maybe we should go Chrono Trigger, then Majora's Mask.
Mm-hmm.
Only because Chrono Trigger is my number 1 and Majora's Mask is your number 2.
Sure, buddy. No,
Well,
I'm just
you know what I'm
kidding.
saying.
I'm just kidding.
And then, what's your number 3?
Ocarina of Time, then Super Mario World, then Yoshi's Island.
That's Yoshi's Island is your 5?
Yeah.
Okay, so my 5 is Wind Waker, so we already did the other one. So
Super Mario RPG.
So let's go
Yoshi's Island.
I'm gonna go Yoshi's Island and then Super Mario RPG.
Uh-huh.
And then we just need a number 10. So what's your 6?
Wind Waker.
What's your 7?
Super Metroid, Mario Brothers 2,
Uh-huh.
Yoshi's Island, Yoshi's Island DS.
Okay, Yoshi's Island DS. And mine are Mario 64, Final Fantasy, Ocarina of Time, and Mother 3. So
they're entirely different.
So, is there one you think we could just agree on for number 10?
What if we, like, I don't know. This is difficult.
We only need one more. It's okay. I would concede just about anything at this point.
Whatever. Just throw whatever you want in there. Or we could just do A Link to the Past since we both collectively liked it.
Alright, cool. Let's put A Link to the Past. Let's give it its due. So, guys, our collective lists are number 10, A Link to the Past. Number 9, Super Mario RPG. Number 8, Yoshi's Island. Number 7, Majora's Mask. Number 6, Chrono Trigger. Number 5, Ocarina of Time. Number 4, Super Metroid. Number 3, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Number 2, Super Mario World. And number 1, Donkey Kong Country 2.
Yay!
Lots of Zelda in there, and lots of Mario.
Well, Zelda games have great soundtracks.
Yeah, that was great. I really enjoyed it. And with that, I guess that's all I've got to say.
What soundtracks do you guys love?
What soundtrack do you guys love? And put it in the comment below. What do we miss? What are we forgetting? And thanks for doing this list with me, buddy. This was a really fun video to do.
It was swell.
It was swell. I don't know what to say. And with that, I'll see you later, everybody. Guys, I would, just in case, say goodbye to the room. Like I said, I'm going to have to find a new iconic spot to record my vlogs and all my other videos like this, so we'll see. But until then, see you guys next time. Bye.
Peace.
Peace.